Hello, everyone. This is David Grealish from Classic Computing, and I am here with James Denton. And today we are going to talk about James, but we're also going to talk about our friend Ray, and I always struggle, Arachelian.
Yeah.
So I'm saying it weird because I'm trying to say it right. But Ray was the creator of the LisaEm emulator, amongst many other things, but that's what he's known for in the Lisa um, what I'm trying to say, the Lisa world or whatever. But Ray was featured in the documentary, and unfortunately Ray died a few years ago. I obviously gave him a memorial at the end of the film, and I think it was, what year was that?
2023.
2023.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, thank you, James, for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, if you would just tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So my name's James Denton. I'm another member of the Lisa community, a small band of, Lisa enthusiasts worldwide who try to keep this machine going, right? The spirit of the Lisa. I'm also, I guess, one of the administrators of Lisa List 2, which is a forum that was set up a few years ago for Lisa enthusiasts to come and ask technical questions about Lisa and have them answered by some of probably the most foremost experts in the world. James McPhail of Sigma 7 Systems being one of those guys. Lots of interesting content comes up there quite often. We can kind of get into that a little bit later, but I'm also a network engineer by trade and just an Apple enthusiast, really.
Yeah, and I regret I didn't talk to James for the documentary. You know, just like,
Maybe he'll sit down for one of these.
yeah, that needs to be on my to-do list because I was aware of him, from a long time ago. He was very instrumental, very important part of the Lisa after Apple. The Lisa Second Life. So,
Yes.
so tell us a little bit about how'd you get interested in Apple, Lisa? Where did all that start?
Oh, I Apple has been a big part of my family since I was a young child. I was born in '81. The Mac was introduced in '84, and
Mhm.
my grandfather was a really big influence on me, and he bought one of the first Mac 128Ks, right? And so when I was a young child, I grew up with that machine and became the owner of that machine over time, and been a Mac fan ever since. Um, the Lisa was one of those machines maybe you heard about or read about in a magazine. Back then, pre-internet, everything was word of mouth, right? Or
Yeah,
um, um,
it was sort of more, even more mysterious back then,
even
wasn't
more mysterious, exactly. And so you'd be reading something, and you're like, Macintosh XL, what is that?
it?
Like
Yeah.
a sticker on a box that says now supporting XL and Lisa 2. You're like, ooh, what is this thing, right? So I guess, over the years, I kind of forgot about it, put it in the back of my head, and probably late, I don't know, early 2010s, recalled the machine, found LisaEm online, installed it. I don't remember if it actually worked, but it was enough to sort of, it rekindled my love for vintage Apple stuff. So in the closet was a beat up Wall Street, PowerBook and that 128K.
Yeah.
And that's when I discovered the floppy Emu was a thing around 2012, 2013, maybe a little later.
Wow. It's
So
been
then
out
it's
that
like, oh,
long.
that makes things easy now. So I can get
Yeah.
back into old machines and not have to worry about floppy disks. And from there, it snowballed into, well, let me get on eBay. I won't buy anything. And it's like, oh, maybe I will buy this thing I don't really need, right? Um, so yeah, the Lisa became then something I really wanted to have, and I think I came across vintage micros
Hmm.
and all the things you could get for the Lisa before actually getting a Lisa. So once I had a Lisa, I was like, well, of course I need an accelerator. Oh, of course I need this 2-port card, right? So it's just
Yeah.
that's just how it is. Sort of like an addiction almost.
And I guess, did you feel like it was a natural extension of like I did anyway, from it was like a natural part of the Macintosh, line of its history? It's like the precursor Macintosh. Is that what kind of way you saw it too?
Yeah, I think we probably know the history of it, right? The
Yeah.
commercial unsuccess of the machine, but certainly using Lisa Office system, you can feel it's very intuitive.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe in some ways less intuitive than the Mac turned out to be, but comparing an 83 LOS to an 84 Mac, there's a lot of similarities there.
Yeah.
But to personally, I think we could probably all agree that MacWorks on a Lisa is more productive, but certainly less
Right.
fun because it's not, that's just a Mac at that point. But from a technical perspective, how they made that all function, that's really what interests me. The specs of the machine, the MMU, and the expandability, and kind of where their head was at that time versus what we know of the Mac to be somewhat more of a closed system. The
Right.
Lisa really had a lot of opportunity there that you didn't see again until like 87, 88, right? And the Mac 2.
Mhm.
So yeah, all of the history of Apple in the 80s has always just fascinated me.
And you do you collect any other computers? So do you own any other vintage Apples or other computers?
Yeah.
Any
So
non-Apples interest you?
what's that?
Any non-Apples you
No,
have? Or?
no, not really.
Okay.
I was never really an IBM PC or PC clone guy. Like I
Yeah.
found if I had to mess with a comp file or a batch file or something, no, thank you. Right? I didn't want any of that. I did have envy, of my kids friends playing things like Commander Keen and Doom and stuff. I'm on my
Right.
Performance 6200, struggling trying to get things that were cool to run, and they're playing fun games. But I still stuck by Apple. But I have a Color Classic that I picked up and a 2FX.
Nice.
Um, I think I have that Wall Street, and I've
Yeah.
tried to miniaturize my collection as much as I can because things can get out of hand really quickly. The machines of those vintage were somewhat big with big CRTs. Like I don't have
Oh,
room anymore, and I only have so much time.
and
So
space.
yeah,
Right.
like
I hear you, brother.
good enough. I need to go vertical actually with my collection sometimes.
I've been there, so I know
Yeah.
all about that. And
Yeah, and I like the Macs that are a little bit like, I don't know, have a little character to them. So it's not, I don't want a 6100. I want a 6100 DOS compatible, right? Something that's got a little extra in it that you can play with. And my Color Classic has a 2E card in it, right? So I'll fiddle with that every now and then. It's amazing what people have managed to do to even increase the usability of some of those things. And I really appreciate folks that make things like parallel hard drive emulators or SD card hard drive emulators, because they just make it so easy to just pivot what you're doing. Just grab a little SD card, throw it in, and now you can go on some new journey. I'm not spending hours trying to install an operating system.
and I don't know if you'll be impressed or any of our viewers, but so the Wall Street was the 1998 Apple PowerBook G3.
Right? Yeah. The
And
pre
then
the pre
there was a
Lombard
Lombard 99, and then the now I'm going blank. What was it, 2000? The
Pismo.
Pismo, right?
Yeah.
So he said, yeah.
Pismo. Yeah. Yeah.
Used to have them all down.
Yeah, and for me, the Wall Street was actually it's a nice bridge machine because it has ADB and
Yeah,
USB, I think.
it was
Whereas the Lombard's USB, or no, maybe it doesn't even have ADB. I don't remember. Or
the
USB.
intermediary kind of one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
sort of. Yeah.
it's well, and the Wall Street comes in handy for my initial development of the ADB Lisa keyboard adapters. So
Okay.
is my, we'll call it my side hustle, right? Where I manufacture by hand Lisa keyboard adapters and some Wi-Fi emulator or Wi-Fi modems,
Hmm.
and some of the early Cameo Pocket Beagle profile hard drive emulators that Tom Stapleton in the Lisa community had created. So just
Right,
and
and that's
for
arcanebyte.com.
arcanebyte.com, yeah.
And there's ADB to Lisa, Mac to Lisa, USB to Lisa, Wi-Fi modem, and the Apple Parallel hard drive emulator.
Sure. Yep.
So very cool. I've had a couple of these over the years.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I bought at least one or two things from you before.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. Before, if you've ever had a Lisa keyboard, it's probably turned to dust inside, right? The
Yeah.
old had key capacitors. And before they were remanufactured, there's a company, I think, Tech something or other, but they make those little foil things, and they're reasonably priced. But before they made those, you had to make them by hand.
Hmm.
And I didn't have the patience for anything like that.
And
So
there's other keyboards, and I can't think. I maybe the TRS-80 Model 3s and 4s, but I know there's other similar computer systems with the same issue going on,
right,
where the key part
the
disintegrates as
foam
well as the
side just
foam.
disintegrates over time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the foamy, cushiony stuff in there just right turns into
right.
dust,
Yeah,
literally.
you just open it and you just blow it, and the dust goes everywhere.
Yeah. So
But yeah, so I just created the adapters to adapt like an ADB keyboard, an Apple, ADB or a USB or the Mac RJ11 style keyboards. So if you have any one of those, you can get an adapter for that.
very cool.
Yeah, thank you.
And then it makes it more, where you can use ones with the other, or go back and forth, or you can't get a real Lisa keyboard and so on.
That's right. Yeah.
Because Lisa keyboards are really hard to get now, and working ones are not, and
Right. Yeah,
really
you
expensive.
don't find them by themselves. They come with a free Lisa, so you spend a couple grand on them.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll move on and talk about Ray a little bit now. So just me personally, I didn't really meet Ray in person until 2019 or so, when I went and interviewed him in New York. And I don't remember exactly where he lived in New York, but outside New York City. But obviously I interviewed him, I met him and went to his home. But I had met him years before that. I want to say maybe late 90s somewhere, virtually. And and I started using LisaEm early on. But so talk about how you came to meet Ray, and I guess you work with him a little bit, or just
Yeah. So Ray and I we developed a great friendship over the last, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, and it all started. I think Lisa List was the original, one of the original Google mailing lists for Lisa enthusiasts, and he was very prolific on there. And if you read the prior posts, I mean, you could read the history of LisaEm and his success in getting some of the old operating systems like the Uniplus Unix working. He was just had such deep technical knowledge of how the Lisa works and just computing in general too, that I was always just kind of in awe of what he knew. I would never know as much as he had forgotten, one of those kinds of things, right?
yeah.
So I think I emailed him once about a BBS software that he had written for the Mac in the mid '90s, one of his early software projects, and I jokingly asked about getting a license key for this thing, right? Because it was just kind of an icebreaker, you know what I mean? And he got a laugh out of that. And we started talking a little bit, and I just kind of we both knew John Woodall because I had already been working with John for a year or two on my Lisa stuff, and he helped John out with his website over the years, and so
I didn't know that.
went back and forth. Yeah, went back and forth for a while, and then when the Google mailing list became untenable, just as a platform, I don't think that Google mailing list platform was much longer for this world. Him and James McPhail and Rick Ragnini, they all kind of banded together and created the LisaList2.com forums. And Ray was an administrator for that. So I kind of got in early on that and helped admin that. And we had a group chat going off on cell phone and back and forth an email. And he let me know, like in 2020, I mean, his father had passed away, and he let me know about his cancer diagnosis. And when I think in 2022, he was, I think stage 4 by then, and made plans to go visit him. So I flew out to Syosset in New York,
Oh,
and
okay.
spent
Syosset, that sounds familiar.
spent 2 days with him, and came home, and it was that was in September, and I think he passed away in January. In fact, I think it was like either days or weeks before the source code was released. So I was just like, oh man, if you'd have just held on weeks, we could have seen this. And I just think all the time of like, man, how if he had been around when the source code was released, what better things could have come from that. But anyway, Ray was a great guy, and I think he was admired by a lot of folks, and it was really nice to be able to meet him in person and just shake his hand.
And he was really petitioning for the source code.
He was. Al Casso, I believe, over the Computer History Museum, is the one who kind of really championed that through Apple. But I know Ray was super interested, and him, like a lot of others, had done a lot of reverse engineering of things. Obviously, to build an emulator, you've kind of got to have some skills, and I'm sure that by now the emulator would be super rock solid if he had access to source code to confirm or deny certain theories he had about things. But there's a lot of younger folks, I think, involved in that now. Alex
the cat. He goes by, right?
He's barely in his 20s, and he compiled the source code, and he's just a technical genius.
Amazing. Yeah, there's a lot of young people getting involved, I noticed, and I've never been super technical. I'm not an engineer or a coder or anything like that. So I can't relate to that part of it. But there's a lot of people like that, like young wazes, if you will.
Exactly.
So it's pretty amazing. I was just going to mention I carried a lot of I wanted I never meant my film to take so long, and obviously it didn't get finished until after Ray died, and so I felt really bad about that, and just
life happens, right? And I know you've got a lot going on that delayed that, and it's a labor of love too. You don't owe it to anybody, right? So I just appreciate it.
I mean, just that I'm glad I got it done. I really felt like mid 23, late 24 came around, like 23 rather. I'm like, I've got to finish this thing. So I'm now I'm a year and a half on the other side of it, and so it's been done. It's like it's like, thank God I got it done, But Ray had a lot of great things to say. I'm in the process of releasing extended interviews, and so I've only done one so far, Bill Atkinson, and then I'm gonna doing my interview with you, and I got some other stuff, but then I'm going to get on with John Scully, and then but Ray's is really important because he's passed, and then Adam Rosen, and then God, I'm losing my memory here, Bob from Sunray Marketing.
Oh yeah.
So there are 3 people I interviewed passed before I got the movie done. But anyway, well, get back to our interview. So now talk a little about LisaEm then. So you were kind of in the forums, and Ray's working on this, and you're enjoying it and playing around with it.
Ray, GitHub is kind of where a very popular code repository, right? But Ray kept a lot of, I think he ran his own repository service at home, and would make a lot of changes locally and then just do a big dump upstream. And he did his best to automate a lot of build scripts and make it easy enough for people to download and use. But that's a hard business, right? And he's just constantly making changes. And when he passed away, that had been his baby, right? So the question was, well, who's going to sort of become the steward of LisaEm moving forward? And nobody really stepped up, and at the time there wasn't a lot of interest in that level outside of Ray. So I said, well, I'll do what I can. I can fiddle around with GitHub, and that's fine. And I've compiled this a few times, and I knew that there were some changes that I wanted to make, just like functionality, getting bug fixes and those kinds of things more than anything else. So I just cloned the repository and updated all of the existing issues on his website that says, hey, this is no longer being developed here. Come check it out over here. And then as time allows, just try and knock out a few bugs, just try and make sure it compiles with newer versions of libraries, and just kind of keep it going until other contributors pop in and do what they can. And we've been very fortunate, actually, in the last 6 months. Lots of new contributions to the project from 2 new people that have fixed some Twiggy support and gotten LOS 1.0 working and fixed some workshop bugs. I mean, some really important bug fixes that have merged and make it a lot more usable product. And that's really, really cool. So that's really where I'm at. And Ray had been developing LisaEm for over 20 years. And so there's a lot of, we'll call it, baggage that comes along with that. But his goal was, he started out working on it on his on Sun OS and PowerPC and then Intel, right? So you see that corrupt still in the code and build scripts and this and that. And he tried to maximize compatibility with a lot of legacy systems that probably less than 1% of people are actually using. So you can reduce some of the complexity by ditching support for some of those older things and just focusing on the now and the future. So part of my effort is to try and eliminate some just dead end code paths that they're just taking up space and making it more difficult to read, and focusing on Intel and M1, Mac and Windows and Linux, and keep it simple as we can, I guess.
And just to be clear, I mean, probably the large majority of people that might check out this interview know what LisaEm is, but just for anybody who's, I probably should have said this early on, but it stands for Lisa Emulator. And I did an interview with Andrew Yaros, who recently made a Lisa Simulator, which is a simulation of the Lisa operating system. So this is an emulation of the Lisa operating system. Maybe you could, without getting too technical, maybe explain what's kind of like, maybe talk a little bit more about what LisaEm is and what that means as far as emulating.
LisaEm as an emulator does its best to emulate the hardware of the Lisa in software. And so the idea being that you start up this software program and you can run software from a Lisa disk image that's been converted from physical media to a software file. And that operating system doesn't know that it's running on emulation. It for all intents and purposes, it's a Motorola 68000 with an MMU and all of the functions of real Lisa hardware. So you can run things like Lisa Office System 1 through 3. You can run Xenix, Microsoft Xenix, Uniplus Unix. You can run MacWorks, all these different variants. You could potentially run System 7.5. Like you're trying to emulate the functionality of Lisa as close as you can so that the software doesn't know any better, right? Whereas simulation is more of a, I think, like prescriptive driven, like click here, it does this thing, but it's mimicking that. It's not emulating that.
Right? Yeah, and it can feel the same to a certain extent. But to be clear, LisaEm is when you're running the Lisa operating system, you're really running the Lisa operating system, Lisa Office system rather, and it's emulating the hardware, but you're running the real software.
Absolutely, yeah, and you can run a debug mode where you can see, what Motorola assembly state is in. You can look at memory locations, and that would essentially be exactly what the hardware would be doing at that point in time. It's remarkable, really, and it's
complicated.
Beyond my skills, honestly. I'm just a code monkey. I can run a build, right? Like I'm not an assembly wizard by any stretch. And the problem is that the users typically are expected to build it themselves. And so there's build scripts there. So there's not like a downloadable version that you can easily download and install. You're expected to download Xcode and run this bash script. It builds it for you locally. And I think that process sometimes doesn't work as well as it should, right? So one of the things we'd like to do, or the royal we, I guess, is make it so that you can download a DMG and drag LisaEm to your applications folder and it just works.
That's what the other royal we. That's what we need.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, we'll get there at some point, I guess. It is like a documentary. It's also a labor of love, and you do it when you have time, and it's.
so obviously that's in your future plans,
Yeah.
and you're kind of the keeper of it now. So any other future plans other than more easy, accessible installers and versions of it, or anything else?
For LisaEm, I don't know. I think certainly making it more robust and truly compatible, and that's probably going to involve more testing and automated testing. Before Alex, did his fantastic work with source code compilation, I think there was an attempt to try and make LisaEm accessible via a terminal, so that you could run automated build scripts against a LisaEm instance from your workstation and speed things up. Because LisaEm it emulates a Lisa in its native 5 megahertz state, which I think we can agree is probably not the fastest thing in the world. But it can also emulate a Lisa in a 512 megahertz state, right? So it's considerably faster.
Yeah.
And that means a build can go from 9 hours to 30 seconds, right? Or something like that, right? And so if you are iterating against making new features for LOS or something else, you don't want to waste a lot of time on that to find out that it doesn't work. So enhancing that functionality would be great. But honestly, I think just preserving the software in a working state against new Mac OS versions, new Windows versions, and keeping it alive and not letting it get too stagnant is kind of my immediate goal. The Lisa FAQ is still a very valuable resource, and that's all statically driven web pages. And I also maintain sunder.net, which is or was Ray's domain.
Yeah.
So the Lisa FAQ lives there, his own personal web page, all the LisaEm history and documentation all lives there. And it's on a VPS out at OVH. So I manage that server and Lisa List 2 and sunder.net. And so my job as the admin is to keep that stuff going, keep backups. I mean, all the things, you have to do as a server administrator. I kind of absorbed all those responsibilities, for better, for worse. So.
Well, that's good. That's good
Yeah.
that there was somebody to do that, and thank you for doing that.
Sure.
So one thing I've always wanted to do, I have my little right here, little 3D printed Lisas with Raspberry Pis in them, and they run LisaEm, and like making like a bigger Lisa, like reproduction Lisas. So have you heard any recent talk of doing that sort of thing? I think it'd be cool, maybe like a half size, 50%, I don't know, reproduction.
Yeah, I think part of that's going to come down to how can you miniaturize the boards and have them function the same way if you're going to do a true hardware-based solution.
Yeah.
Now, I know of folks that have made the reproduction boards, built their own chassis, and they're running a video out from the built-in RCA jack on the back of a Lisa, or they connect to some of the pins inside the box. There's now these HDMI boards that can convert the video signal from the Lisa to an LCD. And those aren't too expensive either, and they've got the timings all worked out, and those are really, really sharp. But that would at least help you create a Lisa from nothing. And with the keyboard adapter and hard drive adapter, you can have something that works. I think you're going to need an Alex or someone like that who really wants to devote the time to taking that IO board and the MMU and all that and like miniaturizing it or reproducing it in some other way. And maybe that would involve LisaEm or some piece of it. And certainly I think things like the MMU code and the glue code in LisaEm could be taken out and made part of another project that just did that.
Well, I think it's great. Thanks for coming on and talking to me. And
Absolutely,
it's glad keeping the dream alive, as they say. It's nice that the Lisa's kind of growing in its recognition and its appreciation. I think it really is quite a bit.
Absolutely. absolutely. And it, new stuff is discovered all the time. There's a lot of curious people out there, and I'm always uh, amazed by the prototype pieces that come out of the woodwork. You're just, wow, I had no idea that existed. And it was at least, I like to go to the CHM website and look at some of the early Lisa prototype, the color board and this other board that you're like, wow,
Yeah.
what if it went that direction?
Right, right.
I like where we are now though too, because I love macOS 10 and it's all good.
Yeah. But see, the way I look at it is, and it's also nice that again people are recognizing Lisa more, and especially a lot of people that are otherwise just interested in Apple and Apple history and Mac history, that they basically kind of see it as the first Macintosh in a way, that it fed right into the Macintosh. And I'm a firm believer that yes, it was a different project and different platform, but it really did feed right into the Macintosh. Yeah, and that's what the
Especially when you look
documentary.
at like Bill Atkinson's contributions. You're like, well,
Yeah,
without Bill developing Lisa, there would not have been a Mac.
right.
Have Quick Draw.
And even though the hardware was developed, the main logic board for the Mac was developed independently, it still was highly inspired by a lot of the hardware platform of Lisa, the 68,000 and other things. And then obviously the software foundation and then some people. So really, in a way, it kind of we could very well live in, the Mac is over 40 years old now. It could be the Lisa, because even the Mac is not the same Mac, right? It's changed processors how many times, and then
Right.
it changed. Mac OS 10 was for the next,
Right.
but
Yeah,
it's still
I mean,
all in
what
that
makes
lineage
a
or
Mac a
whatever.
Mac, I guess at that point, is it just the user interface? I mean, there's still, an icon in the upper right hand corner, and there's an Apple menu in
Right.
the upper left, and that's really it. The underpinnings
Yeah.
are all different. It's just that interface
Yeah.
that's being somewhat true to form. So
Right. So that's why I think that, it's easy to put the Lisa now at the very beginning of the whole trail or whatever. So, and
yeah,
it even became a Mac, sorta, for a little
yeah,
while.
absolutely. And Lisa Macintosh XL. So
Yeah. But thanks again.
yeah, thank you, David.
We'll stay in touch.
All right, please do. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
See you.
And well, everyone, that's a wrap on this interview session. There are links below in the show notes, so please check out the Lisa Emulator project, LisaEm, at lisa.sunder.net. And another big thank you to James Denton for joining me. Check out his wares at arcanebyte.com. And be on the lookout for more extended interviews from my film coming up soon.